name is Gary Hart. We've been in Marble Falls since 2013, I believe. Found just a phenomenal piece of property that nobody even knows it was there. Even the fire department, the sheriffs, they forgot that place was there. They know us now because cows get out and we have a tendency to burn things when we shouldn't be burning things. So they know us really well. Yeah, burn bans hurt us. But it was down to certain animals is what we had planned on. Something that, her being from the city, I didn't want her to be afraid of the animals. So we were looking at Dexters, nice, cute little cows. They're about this tall. And then the glorious Longhorns. How can you live in Central Texas in the hill country with blue bonnets everywhere and not want to see a Longhorn? So that was what we came to. Plus, they're docile animals. They don't need a lot. Worm them twice a year. They don't need all the shots. They're fine on their own. And every one of ours will come up and eat out of your hands. So that was what got us to that. Started off with one little heifer. Did not think at the time, didn't hit me that they were herd animals, and she wanted to be with the herd on my neighbor's side. So about for 2 weeks we were chasing her, bringing her back, chasing her, bringing her back. Called the guy that I bought her from. He goes, yeah, I got a half brother to her, I'll bring you a steer. So that was what we did. That was our two that we started with. And our first one that we had, she was everybody's favorite. She's beautiful. As she got older, she had just the perfect bathtub type horns, and she was great. And her half brother is mounted on the wall outside the house right now. He was great too, especially when he was, ground up. He was a good one. So that was how we got started in it, and I just studied about them. Realized that no matter how much I study, I will never know everything about them. They're just such a great animal. People that, are a lot smarter than me are still trying to figure them out. So, went to a few Longhorn sales, talked to some great people, and the best advice we got was a lady who was, she basically the queen of Longhorns. She said, breed to what you want. Find the horns you want, find the color you want, find the size you want, breed to what you want, because somebody, somewhere, is going to want that same animal. We talked about it and looked at them and said, okay, we want every horn shape, we want every color combination that can possibly be, and through all of these years now, 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it is, we have pretty much had every one of them. So they're just, they're just great animals, as far as to have something that's, to be local to that. For instance, on your deal with 6 acres, you can probably handle 2, but you're going to feed them a lot. For our area, it's because of the lack of rain, things like that. They need grass, they need to be fed. But feed a steer out every year, and that steer might get you money for paying for all your hay and your stuff. So, and I got some great hay guys, if we need them too. But start small. You may find out that it's not for you after a year or two. Get you, 2 little calves, 2 little steer calves, try them out, see how they work. You never know. Somebody will buy them, I guarantee you. So, that was how we got started into this. They're just a beautiful, beautiful, majestic animal. I mean, we just sit and look at them and stare. It's like, oh, 20 something. But we got a lot of babies. Turns out that the bull that I had processed, I don't know, it's a weird deal. We didn't buy into, or not buy into, but we've always tried to breed our own. Other than going to a sale and buying cows that are already bred, buying a 2-in-1, a 3-in-1, one that's either got a baby on the ground and one in her, that was the only way we got some of the bigger names in the bulls. But we've had, a 2 or 3, to us, they were beautiful, they were great bulls, loved them to death, and one of them, he was my buddy, and I got pictures of my grandson and him playing. My grandson sitting on top of me, he's like 2 or 3 years old. It was just a good little guy, but he wound up throwing out some beautiful, beautiful babies after I took him and had him taken care of. And then, but I did wind up with a son of his, looks identical to him, exact same horn, same body, same everything, except he didn't have the same temperament, so he didn't stick around very long. But again, beautiful babies. I mean, I got some beautiful brindle babies out of him, but just didn't like his attitude. So, and that's one thing about all the Longhorn breeders will agree on. If we don't like their attitude, if we don't like their temperament, if they're jumpers or they're hookers or they're trying to headbutt you, if they're not an animal that you can go up and talk to and pet, they're gone. And we won't sell them to each other. They're just gone. So, and that's part of what, I mean, we all do that. It's just what we do as a group and as an industry. You can't do that with some of the other, beef cows. Oh, they will. Exactly. Hey, there's more cows born every day, and I've got family. We got our kids and our grandkids, and I'm not putting anybody in danger. It's one thing for me to go do something stupid, which I do quite a bit. That's not why. But it's I will not put anyone else in danger. I mean, I got pictures of my grandsons, just baby, 2 years old and up, playing with them, just rubbing them. Gave him a couple of them, and he's feeding them by hand. Our cows, you feed them by hand. They throw ahead, then I pop them and they stop, because then they don't get no more food. So they know. That's why we love them, man. They're just great, big, beautiful, phenomenal animals. The history of them is crazy. But the other thing about them that we did not really think about at the time was the beef on them. We thought, okay, we're just going to have a few, maybe, going to be big time breeders. We didn't wind up doing that because there were just so many we just can't sell them. It's turned out to where that a lot of them is like, all right, we're going to keep that one. After a while, it's like, okay, they got to go. So what do we do with them? Turn them into beef. It's beef sells. The beef is phenomenal. And that's really kind of what this started out as was, to tell people about our longhorn beef. We can talk about cows all day long. I love talking about cows. But the beef is something that really probably in the last several years we're starting to promote pretty heavy. We don't have the money behind us that some of the other breeds do. But the other part of it is that this is a red meat that you can eat. So, excuse me, I'm going to read off my notes. Beef is the best source of protein, zinc, and vitamin B12. Third best source of iron in the food supply. Also a good source of selenium, which can reduce heart disease, certain types of cancer, and as well as enhance body's ability to fight infections. That's what you think of normally when you think of beef cattle. Everybody's brain, when you think of a beef cow, that's what you're going to have, especially the Angus, because they've got a great big lobby out there pushing them. Charolais we've seen, Simmental, Limousine, Brahmers we see everywhere. Herefords is another great beef cattle. They're great beef cattle, but they're also huge beef cattle. They also have a lot of fat on them. Ours don't have that. Longhorns, typically, they're skinnier, they're rangier, there ain't no fat on them. It's a different kind of an animal, a different kind of beef. It is super lean. That's why I love it. Been eating it since our first one in 2016. We did our first steer. Never turned back. The only other meat I might eat would come from Whataburger. Wendy's, if we ever get our Wendy's. So, yeah, well, I'm just like Wendy's and Jack in the Box, man. That's if they get that, I'm staying. So that's what people's brain thinks of when they think of our beef. Thing is, you don't know where your beef comes from. You don't know what animal it comes from. It's in a package. and you're buying it at a store, it's coming from feedlots where they're just pouring the corn to them and building up the fat and building up the weight on them. In some research, what I found was that the U.S. imports 20% of its beef from other countries. I got a feeling it's a lot more than that. But if people would buy local, buy from our local ranchers, probably wouldn't even have to do that, because between people like myself and some of the other folks around here, if they would process their own animals and sell their own beef, they wouldn't be taking them to the sale, which taking them to another feedlot, which is then taking them to their processors. It can be done right here. I have a company. There's a place up in Zephyr, local meats company. They built their place strictly for longhorns. Yep. Well, the only time we have to drive them on the road is when they get out. Got pictures of that, but not up here. That's, yeah. I made the Hill Country Scanner one time chasing one of my heifers. Wasn't proud of that. So out of that, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know where these animals come from, the meat that we're buying at the stores. We don't know where they come from. We don't know how they were raised. We don't know what injections they've had, what other additives, what other hormones. We know nothing about them. But 99.9% of our longhorn beef producers, they're all going to be grass-fed. Some of them will grain finish them, but they're going to be more natural. Just longhorns just don't have to have everything that these other cows have to have. They've got so much into them for having to go through everything they went through all their years of coming up before we started messing with them. Yes, ma'am. What they'll do is like ours are grass-fed, grass-finished. We don't do corn. We don't, the only thing we'll do is cubes, which is still grass technically, but they'll take them and they'll feed them out for 6 months with nothing but corn, high sugars, high fats, just to fatten them up, to put weight on them, so that when they go across the scale or they go to the processor, they just weigh more. Stocker 10 is a good feed. Yeah, yeah. We went to liquid feed last year, and man, what a difference it made. Love it. It's a liquid, yeah. It's a liquid feed. It's a Min 30, I think. I don't remember what they call it now. 33 or 30. It's you can get it at Cold Copper. You can get it at Agritech up in Lampasas. But yeah, it gives them their protein and their minerals. Still hay them, but they don't have to eat as much. Show you a difference between grain-fed and grass-fed. Our grass-fed is, basically the same, except we don't have a lot of the stuff that some of the grains do. It is great for healthy, conscious people. You still get tender, juicy steaks. I'm not a steak person, but I've learned to eat steaks now because I got them, and I'm like, okay, now I understand. But it's, if you look at the difference between what we do as longhorn producers and the other people do, ours is just a good lean meat. I got a picture coming up in a little bit that'll show the difference between grass-fed and store-bought, and it's huge difference. Yes, sir. Yeah, well, but you also look at the grass-fed. You got my omega-3s, you got high nutrients, no shots. Okay. None. It's to me, in my feelings, and a lot of there are no cons to the grass-fed. It's a good lean meat that doctors actually do tell you can eat. That's why when I say it's red meat that you can eat. But you go to the grain feds, and not all grain fed is going to be bad. You can grain feed them, but It's the ones that go to the feedlots when they're just packed in. You've seen the pictures of all the chickens in the you know, the chicken places, and they're just packed side by side. All they do is eat, poop, eat, poop, eat, poop. They can't move, and they just wrong. We shouldn't treat animals like that. So that's where a lot of it comes from. Again, it's raised in confined feedlots. They got the antibiotics. They have to have it because there's so many animals in there. The hormone shots to make them bigger, linked to chronic inflammation. Who knows what they got in them? Again, we don't know where they come from. Don't know what was done to them. Almost every one of your longhorn breeders, you can probably go pick out the cow you want to take. You know, but we all basically, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't say we have a creed. We don't really have a creed, but we all basically agree on we're not going to sell things that are bad for people. You know, that's the reason we're starting to push this effort, make this effort of longhorn beef, because nobody's really thought about it before, except for back in the 1800s. And, you know, God, I couldn't imagine how tough that meat would have been back in them days. Can you get the next slide for me? Thank you, ma'am. Here's where you're going to learn something. There's been several third-party studies done. They go back a few years, but we all still use them because nothing has changed. You have less cholesterol and calories than a lot of white meat, including the lean beefs. Heart healthy diet can positively impact blood and cholesterol levels. When I started eating this meat, my cholesterol levels dropped. My good cholesterol went up, my bad cholesterol went down. My doctor quit sending me to get blood work. She goes, there's no point in it. You haven't changed in 3 years. You're not going to change now. So as you can see, and it does say longhorn beef, not just regular beef, longhorn beef. So you got 100 calories, your cholesterol 61, and go down and look at your chickens. Chicken on the very bottom, cholesterol 85, longhorn 61. So it's a great meat. That's why I say it's a red meat you can eat. Turkey, chicken, even your venisons, well, that's a totally different deal. But all of our studies so far have all pretty much agreed to this same thing right here. So it's just it can be. I mean, any beef will be tough. Any beef can be tough, but most of what we do with ours when we prep ours, we do a lot of cooking in the crock pot, and it breaks it down. There's things that, in doing this, I learned how to tenderize some meat. If you use some baking soda, tiny little bit, quarter teaspoon or so, and sprinkle it on your roast or your meats or your steaks, it's actually a tenderizer as well. It makes a big difference. And I mean, I'd never had tenderloin. I didn't know what tenderloin was till we did our first one. I was like, how in the world, who's gonna pay $20-something for a pound of this stuff? And I cooked one. Now I know why. That's why I tend to keep them now. I will sell them, but if somebody doesn't want them, they're staying in my freezer because they're phenomenal. Love them. Yeah, and that's why we also do, because we do a lot of shredded meats. So we'll cook them in a crock pot, shred them up, have tacos for days. The roast, I mean, I've never had anyone come back to me and say, hey, your meat was terrible. Everybody that I've sold beef to has come back and said, hey, it was great, love it, gonna get some more. Or they put it on, we do next door a lot. I put a lot of stuff on next door. And every time I do, guys will come back going, hey, stand behind him 100%. The meat is great. So I mean, any meat can be tough. It all just depends on what it is. It's not as tough as it would have been back in the early days when the guys were chopping them up when they doing cattle drives. I'm sure that was pretty terrible. But a lot of it is in your prep. Matter of fact, not to down talk any other breed, but why are you going to pay $80 a pound for Wagyu when you're going to cook away half of that pound because it's all fat? You can do the same thing with a tab of butter. Put your flavor into that meat. Every chef's cooking steaks in butter, spooning it over and over and over again. Same thing. I put flavor into my meat when I cook. go ahead and get to my next one, please, which is almost the same as that. This is the health benefits of grass-fed. Up to 5 times more omega-3s, better omega-6, omega-3 ratio, higher in vitamin E, more of whatever that is, coagulated linoleic acid. Still don't know what that is. Can't even say it. And it's typically leaner than grain-fed. It's just, it's just basically a better meat. I don't know how else to say it. Better for you. Now, your next one, this is one you're going to see. Caroline, if you would. Between those two, which would you rather eat? Wrong answer. Well, it doesn't, on the screen it doesn't show up as well, but that one on the left is grass-fed longhorn beef. The one on the right is store-bought. But look how red that one is. That's not dye. That's the actual meat, because it's probably about a 90-10 ratio on the lean beef. When we cook our hamburger, our ground beef, there's no fat left, there's no grease. Sometimes they even have to put stuff in it to be able to finish cooking it. Our stepdaughter just cooked 2 pounds of store-bought beef, and the fat that was left over almost filled up a bowl. It's just, there's a huge difference. And that fat is what's going into our bodies. With the grass-fed, you're not getting that. Yes, sir. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised. There was a round table a couple years ago where that was discussed. What is the difference? What can we truly say? They're grass-fed, they're pasture-raised. They're not grain-fed, they're not grain-finished. So it's basically they're eating natural grains, natural grasses. And that's where the leanness comes in. They're not getting those fats that they're getting out of the sugars from the corns. So, but yeah, on that picture it didn't show up as well, but that one on the left is what ours looks like, and it is red, and it is great. Matter of fact, it's all my kids stealing all my food out of my freezers now. And this is a quote from a cardiologist. It's so good for you, and the key word is lean. Heart patient can eat steak every meal if it is in the right proportions. Longhorn meat on average contains 10% less saturated fat than that of other cattle, puts lean longhorn beef on par with skinned boneless white chicken, and may come as a surprise to a lot of dietitians. I have a friend at work who has heart issues. He started buying meat from me, and some of his stuff dropped, his numbers dropped. And his doctor even asked him, man, what are you doing different? Because he lost weight, he was feeling better. He goes, man, I've got a guy at work that I'm buying longhorn beef from. He goes, keep doing that. Yeah, I couldn't get that from the doctor. I tried, but it comes on. That's again why I say that's stuff we can eat. We don't have to do chicken. The protein and everything that we need in that meat is in that meat. Matter of fact, my surgeon, isn't he the guy? Yeah, he eats nothing but, he said he eats about 2 pounds of meat a day. He eats nothing but lean meat. Not all mine, but he does get some from me. He's also a big time hunter too, though, so that's his deal. So yeah, so I mean, it's as far as why we push this, because we think that the longhorn beef is still different than the other grass-fed beefs. And it probably goes back to all the centuries that they were left alone, and they learned how to process their bodies, process foods better. They'll eat anything you put in front of them. You burn the needles off a cactus, they'll eat the cactus. Yes, sir. They're one of the best animals, best babies, best mamas out there. You rarely have to pull a calf. A lot of ranchers will breed to a longhorn bull their first time, a cow's first time, because of a smaller birth weight. And then the other factors of their breeding will come in, and then they'll start gaining their weight. But they're just a great animal to deal with. Like I say, we rarely have to pull, and the mamas, their mamas something else. You will not get near them if they don't want you near that baby. and it takes a while before they'll let you get near them. But yeah, that's again, there's so many great things about the breed itself. You know, they don't need all the attention that other cows need. They don't. They just need space. They need food. You know, leave them alone. You know, if you want to try to, and now because we're kind of designing cows, basically, is what they've done. You can pick horn patterns and horn characteristics, colors, you know, everything. And that's what we did. I mean, we kind of just went through and made our own, you know, and we, you know, done okay. We love them though. That's the hard part, is getting rid of them after you got them. You know, I told her, don't name them. Yes, sir. No. Well, that's what we had talked about there. That, you know, one of the first sales we ever went to, we talked to Charlene Simpkin, and the queen of Longhorns, and she said, breed to what you want. Pick your horn shape, your horn style, your horn whatever. I mean, and I had a cow, I loved her to death, but I wound up selling her. She had 4 twists on her. She wasn't a corkscrew, but if they'd have been tighter, she'd have been a corkscrew. But she was on her 4th twist. Got handlebar horns. I mean, they came straight out, straight up, and laid back. Perfect handlebar horns. I mean, white horns, black horns, we've had them all. Love them. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. They don't have any when they're born. Just little nubby nubs. But give them a couple of weeks, and you'll start seeing little nubs come out. You know, and they come. Yeah, yeah. The thing is, they never stop growing. You know, no matter how that cow's going to get, or that bull's going to get, or the steer's going to get, they're going to continue growing. That's why most of your record-setting animals are going to be a little bit older. But here again, we're also playing with DNA and genes, so we're breeding 100-inch animals to 100-inch animals. You know, pretty soon we'll get them in a trailer. I don't know how we're gonna move them around. So it's interesting. Next slide, please, ma'am. What other cow has a statue? That is in Fort Worth. Man, I had the name of it. TD somebody. But that is a sculpture in Fort Worth at the stockyards. It's actually a little bit bigger than that. That's all they can get in that picture, I suppose. But back when they were doing cattle drives like that, their horns weren't that big. That would be a now cattle drive. Yeah, we had one. That was my girl. RM Sitting Beauty. I loved her. She was awesome. But yeah, that's another thing. The history of these animals is unbelievable. You don't hear anybody talk about the history of Angus. You know, Herefords, unless you're English or Scottish or something, where they come from. But well, we talk about Longhorns. When you're driving down the road, you see a Longhorn, you're going to go, "Oh wow, look, isn't it beautiful?" Yeah, pasture art. That's just the way they are. You know. But that's what they're good for. So now, the history of them was shaped entirely by North America. They were just left here basically to fend for themselves. Stemming from ancestors, first cattle set foot on American soil 500 years ago, became the sound end product of survival of the fittest. That's what they are. They are the fittest. Shaped by a combination of natural selection and adaptation to the environment, the Texas Longhorn is the only cattle breed in America which, without aid from man, has truly adapted to America. In his book, The Longhorns, J. Frank Dobie, awesome book, states the situation as well. Had they been registered and regulated, restrained, and provided for by man, they would not be what they were. By leaving them alone, that's what they became, is the true what we think of as a Texas Longhorn. Intensive crossbreeding nearly erased the typical Longhorn by 1900. beginning in 1927, it was presented to the United States government a wildlife refuge in Oklahoma and Nebraska. You can still go to the Wichita Refuge outside of Lawton and see actual real life native wild longhorns. They're beautiful, running around with bison and everything else. If you Southern cattlemen convinced of the value and genetic link, conserved reservation, maintained small herds through the years, these ranches were called the Seven Families. There was I don't remember them all. Peeler, Butler, Wichita Refuge is one of them. Man, I had them when I was driving home today, and now I forgot them all. But basically, these 7 ranches said, hey, we want that. This is a great animal. We want those genes. So they started bringing up their own. The Butler family, they still have their very own sale in Lockhart every September, in fact. And it is strictly Butler breeders. It's a Butler breeder sale. And they have their own style, their own way of horns. And you can almost tell every Butler out there. YO Ranch out towards Rock Springs, Del Rio was another one that brought the breed back. But had it not been for what the government did and what these 7 families did, they wouldn't be here today. Next slide, ma'am. That's what they used to look like. Let's see. An early foundation sire from one of the largest ranches in the nation, and I'm almost betting that's YO Ranch because that sure looks like South Texas. He was considered a Texas. Yeah, he was considered a good Texas Longhorn in '67. He weighed nearly 1,000 pounds and was just a little over 27 inches tip to tip. Next slide. That's what we got now. So in, 20, 30 years, because of, they're still a Longhorn. Yes, we're changing some of their stuff, but we're not changing what they are. We're just making them bigger and better. That is Cowboy Tough Checks. He's right at 2,000 pounds. Last I remember, we have, not me for sure. Several breeders now have some bulls in the 1,800 to 2,000 pound range. Yeah. And that's you need to be throwing him out there because that's what we've done. He is 108 inches tip to tip. Set the record. The next one, beautiful animal. Her horns actually did stick out the trailer when they were moving her. That's Danica, 3S Danica. She is the longest horn female, 116 inches tip to tip. So, man playing with some DNA and genes and all that, this is where we're at now. That's what we're breeding to. Tip to tip is basically how everybody gets, their value, their marketing, but we brought up the body too. No, sir. Full 100% registered Texas Longhorn. But because it's, anytime you take the absolute best genes and the best DNA of something and you mix it up with the best genes and DNA of another something, male, female, you're going to get, that continual growth. So this is where we're at now in 50 years, 60 years. This is where we're at now. Some cows have had babies at 20. $50, $60. We tend to weed them at 6 months. Try to. 20 years, 20, 25 years. I mean, it just, no. Mom yeah, because once you wean them, then the udder will dry up, and then here comes Papa trying to do it all again. Yes, they will. I've got some I've weaned. I got some I've weaned 3 times. Like, God, would you stop? Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, skip me one here. Just one there for the little jokey joke. Nope, you didn't do it? Okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah. That was our first trip to the processor. No. No, we got a trailer now. No, that is actually a real picture, believe it or not. Yeah. I watch. Stupid, I know. That's nowhere local either. I don't think that's in this country, as a matter of fact. So the next one is a it's skip. Yeah, it's skipping a few. Is there one? Yeah, I mean, or either that or I can do it. I can just read it. Because there was a, okay, nutritional comparison again, which is from a different. This is 87 from A&M. And again, notice the separation. They have longhorn beef all on its own. Regular ground beef lean, regular ground beef down there at the bottom. Just to show that there is something about this breed that makes them separate from the other breeds. And it's registered longhorns, period. As long as they're true longhorns. The problem is yeah, I mean, you go back and watch the movies and all the old stuff, the longhorn roamed everywhere. They were just left here for centuries. They roamed all over Texas, Mexico, and then people started bringing them up, because there was a need for beef, a huge need for beef because of the wars, civil wars and all the other stuff. So that was what started all that. They would go down there, drive them up, just like Lonesome Dove. Great movie, one of my favorites. And normally there would be 1 or 2 steers that they would be their lead steer. They would take it up because it knows where it's going, and they bring it back because it knows where it's going. And they're just that smart of an animal. In fact, even in that book, Frank Dobie's book, he tells a story about somebody down in South Texas sold a bull or a steer. They drove it away up to the guy's house, didn't bother trying to pin it, do nothing with it. The bull just decided he was going home and walked right back home. And ours knows where home is. When they get out, they just get on the road and we go, hey, you better get home. Fine. And they just walk right back through the gate. We got videos of her driving them, shaking a bucket. My daughter's in the truck hollering at them, and she's just pushing them on. They're just a great animal. They're dang sure smarter than some of the other ones. Well, I don't know. Yeah, we were a couple of years ago, we were going to a sale, and somehow or another the side latch on the trailer didn't get locked, and we were stopped at the light there at Valley View or something. One of them popped that gate and went down in the creek, and us and Granite Shoals Police and Burnett County and the animal control guy, my neighbors, all the family, we spent about another 3 hours trying to catch that heifer and get her pinned back up. And once we got her back in the trailer, I just took her back home. I said, you don't go that bad, you're not leaving. So, and now she lives with my neighbor down the road. We just couldn't do that to her. But yeah, that was a fun one. But yeah, there's just something about them, like I say, there's something that separates the Longhorn beef from all the other beef cows. Rose, yeah, yeah. When we get it, we take ours to the processor. We pick our cuts, and bring them home, and we put them in the freezer and sell them right out of that. Which I have 2 freezers full right now, if you're interested. All right. This is the other kind of the yes and the good and the bad part of it. Due to the nature of supply and demand, there's a lot less of us than there are of them. You'll probably never be able to get Longhorn beef in the supermarket. Very seldom, if you ever do find it. Maybe HEB someday, who knows? I bet you it's coming. So what we're doing is we're trying to create these opportunities amongst ourselves in the communities of the whole buy local thing. Buy from a local farmer, buy from a local rancher. There's so many Longhorn breeders in Texas, it is unbelievable. Probably if you took every breeder in the United States outside of Texas, or Oklahoma, Texas and Oklahoma are like 1 and 2, they probably wouldn't number the amount of breeders that we have here. There's 3 or 4 probably within a 40, 50 mile range right here, right now. But don't call them, call me. So we're trying to, we're going to the farmers markets, things like that, trying to get it out there. We have association, the Longhorn Beef Producers, and we have the pamphlets that we get out. So we pay our yearly deal, we get the pamphlets, we get any new stuff, anything that comes out, we have access to it. And we're listed in the TOBA, Texas Longhorn Breeders Association of America, listed in there, as being a registered Longhorn beef producer. And they're everywhere. A lot of them are in there, but they don't really have any beef because I've tried. I actually ran out last year of oxtail. I had a buddy that bought every oxtail I could get my hands on because he had a friend that cooked at a VA, or at a, not the VA, at the VFW. Thank you so much. Every news of that thing. But he cooked for them down in San Antonio and bought every oxtail I had, every oxtail I could get locally, and I wound up having to buy oxtails from like 3 or 4 other breeders, just because suddenly this market opened up. Never knew what oxtails were until that happened. We got Osobuco now that never knew what that was, getting the market for it. So all these cuts that you're getting, used to be able to get from everyone else, we are now being able to provide, with our Longhorns. So we're trying. It's just still really local, really small. And like I say, we're registered breeders. Yeah, so now we're trying to market ourselves. We don't have the money, basically. The funding to go out there and do what the certified Angus beef people have done, we don't have that. I'm telling you, it's a huge lobby, millions of dollars. But when you go to the signs, you see the signs at the restaurants, CAB, certified Angus beef, certified Angus beef. Everything's got that big stamp. We're not there. We'll probably never be there. But at the same time, I kind of like the little niche that we're in, because it brings us to you people. It brings y'all to us. You know where it's coming from. You can't go to any other ranch probably and go, hey, can I get that one? But you can probably do it to every one of us. I've told people that. No. Nope. As far as I know, there's not a supermarket anywhere that carries it. Right now, we're still trying to get into restaurants. There's, matter of fact, the only restaurant I know for a fact that sells Longhorn beef in this area is one in Austin, and they sell Longhorn burgers. In Oklahoma, matter of fact, right outside of Wichita Refuge, there's Mears, Oklahoma, and that guy, God, those burgers, that's the first Longhorn burger I ever had. So good. It's like, yeah, I know what we're doing now. And they raise their own, and they buy theirs off of the refuge, so they are real live, native Longhorns. that's the direction we're on. We're trying to just get it out there, and the people that have done it, agree with it. It is great beef. We do it all now. The first one, because we didn't know, we had to learn all about the cuts, and I still get confused on them. But yeah, first few we would do the cuts, didn't really know what to do with them all. We didn't have a market for them, and like I said, I'm not a steak eater, so we had to learn. Then a couple of them, if it was an older animal, then I would just grind all of them, because hamburger goes quick. I mean, we got 2 daughters and 3, 4, 5 grandkids. Hamburger goes fast. But now we've gotten to where I've got the local cuts that does our beef. They work with us, because they teach us. Hey, well, what is this? What is this? What is this? Now we know how to do the cuts, how we want them cut. Our tenderloins we now have cut in fillets, so that you can take those little fillets, wrap them with a piece of bacon, and you're gonna have filet mignon. We can't do T-bones, but I do sirloins. We do tri-tips. My roast, we've gotten our roast to where instead of the little roast, a pound roast, we're getting our roast at 2 pounds and 4 pounds, because it's, you want to cook a roast, I got roast. There's bigger than that. So we've learned through this time dealing with these guys, of what cuts we want, what cuts people are looking for, and they help us a lot. They tell us, they're the ones that told us about the oxtails and the osobuco and things like that. Hey, you're losing money by not selling this. Never heard of it before, didn't know it was a delicacy, and now I got people calling for it. Oxtail. Hell yeah. I don't know. She can tell you there. But yeah, these people, like I said, they opened this facility during COVID because we could not find any processors. I was on a 12-month waiting list to get cows done. So he built this place just for us, and that's pretty much all they do now is Longhorns, and they'll do some wild hog out there and stuff like that. But Zephyr, right outside of Goldthwaite, and tell you this, they're such good people. Last time we went, had a blowout. Both tires blew out on the trailer. He brought his trailer down. We put the 2 cows in his trailer, and he took them on and got all the paperwork done while we were getting our tires fixed. That's the kind of stuff, and he's a breeder as well. So that's what helps. We're all trying to really stick together. I personally, I don't undercut people. I try to keep all my pricing and all my stuff the same as everyone else. And if I'm out and I don't have it, I'll tell you who to call to find it, or I'll go get it for you. Just to eliminate that, because I want people to keep eating it, keep buying it, keep trying it, keep spreading the word on it, because that's the only way we're going to get this done. And to provide another source. Plus, we're local. Oh yeah. They can be. If I can never get mine finished, they will be. I got 5 hanging on a fence. Yeah, it doesn't stay. I mean, there's so many. If you're going to put them inside, yeah, you can polish them up, and actually they say mop and glow works great. Beeswax works great. But like our big steer, he's hanging on the wall outside the house. And we do have one that we sent off and had done because it was our baby. As our first cow we ever bought. And she has a prominent place above the fireplace. And then I had my grandson. I had traded him a couple of cows. He thought he bought her. Really, I bought her. And I got hers done. Yeah, well, there's a guy in Land Passes that's selling shoulder mounts. Yeah, you want to talk about expensive? I can buy a cow for what a shoulder mount costs. $3,500 shoulder mount. My processor now has they just started doing a primal ground beef. Never heard of it before, but now I know what primal ground is. It's a mix of the regular ground. It's like an 80-20 mix of the ground beef plus heart, kidney, and liver. So you're getting all those off falls. You're getting all that great nutrients without having to go through the trouble of cooking the heart, boiling the heart, and cooking the heart, and doing all that. And you don't know, because I'm not eating liver, and I don't eat kidneys, and I don't eat heart, but I will eat primal ground. It's great. Uh, yeah, it's great, and just put it any way you want. I mean, we've made hamburgers with it. We've done spaghetti with it. We've done tacos with it. It's just ground beef. It just has more stuff in it. It's a little bit greasier because of the other stuff, but it's great. So, and I didn't know anything about it, never heard of it before, so I researched it, looked it up to find out historically. Organ meats are prized delicacies, not the afterthought that they are today, because we don't eat that stuff. Across cultures, they're considered the most nutritious and sacred parts of an animal. So you think back to all the shows we watch where they're eating the elk heart, to do all that. It was all true. Native Americans believed that eating the heart of a strong animal transferred the strength to the eater. Ancient Romans loved liver, preparing it with figs and honey. Scottish haggis, a mix of sheep's heart, liver, and lungs, has been fueling bagpipers for centuries. Even today, French pate and Italian fegato alla Venice something, basically livers and onions, is considered gourmet. So somewhere along the way, we got kind of squeamish about eating the offal, we call it the offal, the varietal meats. I'm not eating, but I will like this because you don't notice it. So we're missing out on a nutrient dense, product here. When it's mixed properly, it's not only palatable, it's downright delicious. Beef liver is the ultimate superfood, packed with B vitamins, especially B12, one of the richest sources of iron, critical for preventing anemia. Loaded with vitamin A, must have for immune function, vision, and skin health. Contains copper, zinc, selenium, whatever, essential for brain and human health. And the beef heart, loaded with CoQ10, an antioxidant that supports heart health and energy production, high in iron, zinc, and phosphorus, and a great source for collagen and elastin. So the primal is now the way to go. So, and we have that now. I never heard of it before. When they told me that, I said, yeah, let me try it, because I have a hard time selling those. I've got them. I've had them. I've got some I've had for, forever. And just finally came across that one person that wanted it during all the big egg shortage. I was trading it for eggs. So when I ban steers, they get turned loose, and wherever they fall, they fall. I don't go all that crazy. Oh, I know. Yeah, that's on the big ranches. Yeah. So, any more questions? Would you quick? Oh, I forgot I'm in church. Well, thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abraham Garapati, running for US Congress, running for the fourth time against an 84-year-old incumbent who has been in office for 50 years. I'm the only candidate not taking a single penny in campaign contributions ever, not taking a salary if I go to Congress. Doing this because I'm a businessman and our country is in serious crisis today. They're wasting $2 billion in interest every day on the 38 trillion debt we have. I have a plan to pay off the national debt so that our kids can have a future. I came here 25 years back with nothing from a socialist country. I know what living under socialism is, what living under government schools, government run grocery stores, government run banks, government run hospitals look like, and it has failed all over the world. And we lost New York City to a socialist, and I'm running in the Republican primary, trying to keep the Texas values. So please give me a chance to fight for you. March 3rd, Republican primary. I promise you, if you give me a chance, I'll work really hard. I was your elected delegate to the 2024 Republican National Convention, been in the party for 10 years, attended 3 state conventions, so really fighting hard for you. I'll be your people's congressman, and thank you, sir, for being a farmer. These days, we rarely see people working hard. So we really appreciate what you do for our country. Thank you all. Right here, sir. 31, sir. Yeah, Burnett County is in my district. Yes, sir. Abraham. Yes, sir. Billion times 1,000, man, not 100. Yeah, yeah. Sir, go to my website. I have a clear plan there. The wastage in the federal government is unbelievable. We had Doge for a month and they kicked Doge under the carpet today. They're back to the corruption today. $500 billion to US aid. Whose money is that, sir? Nobody questioning it. $50 million for condoms in Gaza, give me a break. $12 million for pottery classes in Morocco, give me a break. So the problem is, let's take our own situation. When was the last time you saw your congressman? You'll never see him. But he keeps getting elected year after year after year. I'm running against him for the 4th time. How does he keep getting elected when nobody knows who he is? He doesn't show up anywhere because they have become corrupt. They're stealing our money. They have become so corrupt that it's time for us to retire this 86-year-old congressman. He's older than Joe Biden. He's older than Mitch McConnell. What vision does he have for our country at 86 years old? Nothing. We need fresh blood. We need new ideas. Ma'am, that's the first law I will pass if I go to Congress. That's there on my card that I'm going to give you term limits, 12 years, any position, get out after 12 years. Ma'am, only candidate, only politician without a donate button on my website. I came here with nothing, built a business worth $100 million today. I don't need any more money. Only candidate not taking any campaign contributions, not taking, refusing to take a salary if I go to Congress. I want to do this as a service to my country because I've lived on the other side. I lived in a socialist country. I know what living under socialism is. This country is going down the drain very fast. And there's nobody to fight for you. Everybody is so busy raising cattle, raising longhorns. He's so busy with his own life. that the government is failing us. Too much money in the system, ma'am. We need people like people, regular people should be running for office. Farmers, ranchers, business people, these are the people that need to go to Congress. So thank you all for giving me an opportunity, and please check out my website and join my fight to save our country, March 3rd, Republican primary. Thank you all. Absolutely.